This is the Gamecock Corner, brought to you by Randy Jones and Associates, your hot spot for everything you need to know about Jacksonville State football. Time to get the scoop on this week's matchup with your host, Shane Wilson, and the legendary voice of the Gamecocks, Mike Parris.
Gamecock Corner is back for another week, and welcome to it. My name is Shane Wilson. My co-host is the voice of the Gamecocks, Mike Parris. He will join us very shortly, but in the meantime, if you love what you're hearing on Gamecock Corner, then we would love it if you made sure that everybody could hear it by clicking like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. So thank you so much for doing that in advance. Now, let's talk JSU football, and let's do that with the guy who has forgotten more about JSU football than most of us will probably ever know in our lifetime. The voice of the Gamecocks for more than 40 years, Mike Parris is here. Mike, hello there.
Good morning. How you doing?
Well, doing good. Now, law of averages says that you're going to have Saturdays like the Gamecocks had this past Saturday, but that couldn't have been easy for you or for them at all.
Just tough, man. And, people will look at it and don't know anything about the game. Well, you missed the field goal in double overtime that ended up being the difference. But look, you go back to regulation. If we make some plays in regulation, we're not in overtime. A couple of things that our secondary is, we don't have a whole lot of experience defensively, and our least experienced unit is our secondary, and they got hit a little bit the other night. Now, we did finally got our first sacks of the season, but they threw the ball very well against us, and I think our tackling has got to get better. It was better Saturday, but still missed some tackles. And I think, there's just a game like that, double overtime, you lose it, you go back and you think about this and that. We had some momentum third quarter. We got them in a 3rd and 21 situation. They run the football, but missed some tackles, broke some tackles, and they end up gaining 23 yards, get a first down, continue the drive on from there. So that happened. They converted the first half. They were 4 of 5 in third down conversions, finished the night 10 out of 19. So we did a better job the second half. But still, it's better than 50%, and you really want to get that down around 30% as a defensive unit where you'd like your opponents to be. Meanwhile, offensively, we were better on third down, converting in the game against Eastern Michigan. But again, not to the standards it needs to be, because the first 2 weeks we didn't do anything on third down conversions. So those are just some of the things, and hopefully, I thought we were better offensively than we were week 2, and I thought maybe defensively, even though we gave up 34 points, I thought we did some things better on defense. So hopefully that carries over into the game with Southern Miss now.
Yeah, in a game where there are 2 overtimes, 34 points, people see that and they may not see the 2 overtimes, and they may be thinking, oh, yeah, the defense just totally broke down. But that's not necessarily the case in those overtime games because of the format and the fact that probably sometimes more than half your scoring takes place in an overtime game.
We actually played pretty good defense. It was 31-31 into regulation, and we kicked a 51-yard field goal to put it into overtime, to send it to overtime, longest of Garrison Ripa's career. So first overtime, we hold them to a field goal. We get the ball, rip off a run. We're 2nd and goal from the 1-yard line. Then we have a bad snap, and the shotgun goes over the quarterback's head, and next thing you know, we're 3rd and goal at the 26, 27-yard line. So, it's just little things magnified when you lose like that. So I know they were hurting. I was in the locker room after the game. Coaches were hurting. The guys were hurting. And hopefully they bounce back. The old guys, the coaches, takes them a little longer to get over one like that than it does those younger guys and the players. So, but hopefully, I think we've had 2 good weeks of practices back-to-back going into the Louisville game, and then last week as well, a game with Eastern Michigan. So hopefully that carries over into practice this week and getting ready for Southern Miss.
Well, now, homecoming coming up this Saturday, and that's historically a game where every school schedules in order to get that W. Now, probably the average football fan sees Southern Miss as the opponent, and they're thinking back to the 80s and 90s era Southern Miss. They're thinking back to the Southern Miss program that brought us Brett Favre. This ain't necessarily your daddy's Southern Miss program. So talk about them and what you've been scouting and what you see there.
Well, they have struggled a little bit the last few years. I think there's probably some heat on Will Hall, who's their head coach. He played quarterback up at North Alabama back in his playing days, and was a terrific quarterback for them in the D2 days. And he's had some head coaching experience in Division II, been an OC at the Division I level. So they've been snake bit, I think, a little bit. They beat Southeast Louisiana 2 weeks ago. They jumped out South Florida 14-0 on them in the first quarter last week. Same South Florida team that for 3 quarters, a little over 3 quarters, battled Alabama so good. Then South Florida got it going and went on to beat them. And they took a loss in the opener as well. So 1-2 coming in. I think they're still doing some searching, just as we are. They got a new quarterback in Tate Rodemaker. We know about him. He's a guy transferred from Florida State. We played against him in 2020 in the pandemic year. He did not play in the game in 21 when Jacksonville State upset Florida State down in Tallahassee. But he's a veteran guy. He played quite a bit down in Tallahassee in his time there. He's a fifth-year guy. And they'll play him, and they play, I think, 2 quarterbacks. Got some speed at running back, got some talented guys, other skill spots as well. So, again, defensively, got to figure out a way to stop them. And then the defensive side of the football, I think they've had their moments where they've played pretty good so far this season. And offensively, we just got to continue to grow. And Tyler Huff, I think, is taking control. I think he's the guy now at quarterback, and he threw the ball extremely well last weekend. High percentage completion rate, threw for a little over 300 yards. So Cam Vaughn, I think, had a breakout game as a redshirt freshman at wide receiver. So hopefully continue to build upon that. You mentioned homecoming. It's also band day, and there's other things that are going on. So it's going to be a jam-packed day full of activities at Jacksonville State.
Yes, indeed. Well, Mike, good luck to the Gamecocks on Saturday. Appreciate you hanging out and telling us all about JSU football here in the Gamecock Corner.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the time. We'll do it again next week.
Pre-game from Burgess Snow Field at Amherst Stadium is 1 o'clock on Saturday. Kickoff going to be at 2 o'clock. Mike and Ray Hammond will have all the action for you here on 102.9 WKXX, and we'll cover it all on the next edition of Gamecock Corner. We hope you'll join us then. Brought to you by Randy Jones and Associates.
Hi, I'm Randy Jones, your hometown trusted choice insurance agency. Randy Jones and Associates knows the playing field, and we have been proudly serving communities across North Alabama for 46 years. Having the right protection on the field is important. The RJA team of experienced agents will help you find affordable, customized insurance coverage for your family, business, and future. Stop by a local Randy Jones Associates office for a free, no-obligation quote or complimentary policy review.
Join us next week for the Gamecock Corner, brought to you by Randy Jones and Associates, a production of WKXX Sports.